All right, hump day. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin tonight in Georgia, where President Trump is making a bet on America's next generation, touting $1,000 Trump accounts and a plan to give every eligible newborn a financial head start. Also, he honored one of the Gold Star families from today in attendance that I'm going to get to in a minute. Plus, the names connected to Jeffrey Epstein just keep making headlines. Now, a model recruiter accused of introducing young women to Epstein for over a decade has been found dead in his home in France. Weird. Now, authorities say an autopsy will be performed to determine the cause of death. I won't hold my breath for that, but I'm also still waiting on the list from Todd Blanche, by the way. And the House passing a stock trading bill. Wow. And by the way, the Clarity Act has soared on Polymarket to above 50% chance of getting passed. Now, if passed, many crypto holders could actually become millionaires overnight. But first, the hardest thing for any president to do is see the men and women he sent into combat come home under the flag. Let's do this. Folks, these are not the first troops to die, and unfortunately won't be the last. But this is a turning point in this, what we're calling a conflict in Iran, not just for the military strategy, but for the president personally. You saw this today. Folks, these 4 soldiers, Lieutenant Tyler Freehan, Sergeant Michael Swinton, Sergeant Angela Ramsted, and Private Isabella Gonzalez, are the first returning soldiers killed in this conflict that were the result of direct action by Iran. Deeply personal to me. I have been there when you put your friends on a plane draped in that flag. Now, Donald Trump went, and he went and to look those families in the eye and say, I'm sorry. He said this at his rally today after, when he went down to Georgia after riding with one of those Gold Star families on Air Force One.
I think it's the toughest thing I do. If anything I do all this stuff, but I think it's the toughest thing I do.
You bet it is. Knowing full well that he unilaterally made the decision that resulted in those people's children coming home in a box, and he showed up. You know how hard that is to see a Gold Star parent? The man responsible for your child's death right in front of you? But he showed up knowing that. And Trump, look, I know this guy. He does not take this lightly. Because not only does he need to stand there and watch these destroyed families deal with this, he now has to give them an answer. Actually, he's got to give the world an answer, too. What were they killed for? You're now looking at families. You're looking at them in the face at a dignified transfer. You have to tell them what their child died fighting for. Folks, we never did this in Iraq and Afghanistan, which was the hardest thing I had to deal with during my deployments, and even when I got back. What was the goal? What am I getting almost shot for every single night in Baghdad or Fallujah or wherever I was? What was the measure of success in Iraq and Afghanistan for that war? I remember coming back from my second deployment, which we lost someone on. We lost a lot of people. Young EOD guy, I actually took this picture, Tyler Trahan. We loaded his body onto a plane, just like one of these dignified transfers. And I remember coming back to a huge assembly. All the East Coast SEAL teams that were in CONUS at the time went to this. It was with the Admiral, and we were supposed to be able to ask questions. They knew that the sled dogs, we were getting super restless about what the hell we were doing because we were being handcuffed by rules of engagement. That's actually what killed Tyler, and, people wanted answers. So this is supposed to be like this informal, open conversation with the head of WARCOM, which is the parent SEAL command. So I said, hey, respectfully, Admiral, what's the desired end result in Iraq and Afghanistan, and how do we mark that success? And I got this long, ambiguous mission readiness and regional stability, but no answer. And watching the dudes in that room crushed morale. And I am, Mr. President, I am begging you, please don't make that mistake again. Respectfully, sir. And Pete Hegseth was actually asked about this yesterday.
I guess my question to you is, how are we going to define winning?
Look, I think Van Hollen is an idiot, and I hate to give Democrats any credit for anything, but they took that talking point from us warfighters over the last 20 years, and they're rolling with it now. You don't have to tell us tactics, you don't owe us strategy, but you do have to define an end result and how you mark success. Now, Iran not getting a nuclear weapon is not a measurable goal. It's not a strategy because it's open-ended. It's like, it never ends. It's a product of the end result, but it is not the end result. I am speaking to the president as someone who wants him so deeply to be successful. And I am 100% behind finishing this once and for all, because this is the only shot we got. Not only to get revenge for killing my friends, which I really want on these Iranian turds. No one else is going to stop this problem. No one will ever have the set to do this again in my lifetime. Everyone knows I was against going into this conflict in the beginning because I knew this was going to happen, and the likelihood of being drawn into some long, drawn-out conflict was serious. But I have also been the strongest voice for finishing what we started now. Dipping out now is not an option. As someone who has lost 3 friends to an EFP roadside bomb built by Iran in 2007, right next to me, knocked me out too. My friend next to me took a round in the stomach from an Iranian-backed militia. Tyler was killed while disarming an Iranian-supplied IED. I spent 9 years of my life studying this regime, its resolve, its goals, and how they will happily lose every single soldier in their arsenal if just one of them can survive to carry on this fight over the next 500 years. They don't need to win today. They view that as a win. They don't have to beat us. They have to survive. We have to beat them. They are a totally different animal. They will strap bombs to themselves to kill us. When we bomb something of theirs, they don't look at it as, oh, it's a crushing loss. The ones who survived view that as a win, and it strengthens their resolve. Now, I think the president went in giving the benefit of the doubt that there might be some possibility of a rational discussion and some diplomacy, but I think now he kind of gets that that's not possible. He said on Truth today, from this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be done by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran. This marks a huge change in strategy. Still not an end result, but strategy. And this goes to Pete Hegseth's testimony yesterday in Congress. He wants more money. Look, I think Pete, who has been a friend of mine for over 10 years, actually longer than that, has done a magnificent job in rebuilding our military, especially in morale. But this is now a war. This is a turn of events in timeline, okay? You said you need this much more money, so tell us what it buys us.
On the readiness front, we requested $21 billion. On the capabilities side, we requested $46 billion.
Pete, love you, man. You want close to totaling, I think it's like 80-something to $100 billion. Man, look, I will pay my taxes twice this year to help with that nut if you tell Congress that this is what we want to do and this is how we're going to achieve it. Like the first mission in Iran, Midnight Hammer. There was objective, there was plan, there was action and completion. And then you go get Congress to buy in, and they declare war, and you bury that entire country under a blanket of American-induced dust. I will support my people going in there and snatching bodies in the middle of the night and taking their oil fields and turning every single power plant, civilian or military, into a parking lot. Pete, I will support you no matter how many war crimes the international community thinks we would be committing, but do it right, which I know you want to do, man. You have said it, and I know you, and I know because you were in that 20-year fight, that endless war in Iraq and Afghanistan right next to me. Give NATO the finger, and critics know where to hide. For God's sakes, give those families on the tarmac today a reason their children died. Look, Pete, you have the hardest job next to the president on the planet right now. But you need to force that congressman who doesn't want to give you that money, tell that congressman to go look that family who just lost their child in the eye and say, no, we're not voting for any more money for action in Iran. And that congressman is essentially saying, you know what, your kid had died for nothing. You make them have that conversation, Pete. You put any opponent of finishing this job in that position, you will win this war and you will win the public support unequivocally. But let me be super clear about two things here. We are going to run out of conventional bombs before Iran runs out of people who hate us. So start with that in your planning meeting. And most importantly, I care more about a single hair on one American troop's head than I do about every single man, woman, child, and even their dogs combined in the entire country of Iran. So how about let's do some no mercy, because this is real. Combat Army veteran and Purple Heart recipient Teddy Daniels and Combat Army veteran who also lost his brother in Afghanistan, Scott DeLuzio. Scott, this is a fight that we're getting dangerously close to seeing a repetition, but there is hope. Oops, Scott, hold on. We're losing your audio real quick there. All right. Teddy, real quick, while Scott gets his audio right, I mean, I do not want history to repeat itself.
No, Carl, I agree with everything you said. It's time to end it. It's time to go in and finish it. When you have 4 flag draped coffins coming back, I don't care about them either. Okay? And this back and forth, this tit for tat, forget it. Carl, you've witnessed it. I've witnessed it. We have the most powerful and awesome military in the world. Finish it. This cannot drag on.
Yeah. I want to go back to you, Scott, if we get your audio fixed. I mean, we still haven't fixed his audio, so we'll be getting him back in a sec. But look, Teddy, you took a bullet in Afghanistan over this type of thing when there wasn't a clearly defined mission. I mean, this is not something that's difficult to do. Why do you think it's not getting through that we have a clear defined route here?
Carl, I wish I could answer that question for you. I think we've been programmed with Iraq and Afghanistan, with nation building and, the State Department role that they should have been doing and not the military role. Okay. This soon for KIA. Enough is enough. Carl, I went and fought and you went and fought so our kids wouldn't have to go fight. I don't want this drug on. Let's finish it now.
Yeah. I mean, this is an unfortunate issue that we had. Like, this breaks my heart when we have to do segments like this. But every time, and this is the one thing that you know and that I know, every time there's a casualty, you have to learn from that casualty. Did we learn anything?
Well, I think maybe we learned we can't negotiate with these people. These people don't honor treaties. They don't have the same code of honor or ethics that Americans do.
Nope.
So, you know what? Let's show a little action and a little less negotiating here, okay? Because they will respect action. They're not going to respect treaties.
But this is the problem, too, is we constantly have this where American support initially going into Iran was very high. After Fordow, after Midnight Hammer, people were like, yes, let's go. Let's knock these people back to the Stone Age. And then we start actually doing it, and public sentiment is like, well, it's dragging on, and I had to pay $4 a gallon for gas. There is a cost to being a superpower, and sometimes for 6 months you got to pay $1 extra a gallon.
Carl, I'm with you, and I think the big thing is, too, you know it, and I know it, war is nasty. It is the nastiest, most primitive thing that you could possibly imagine. And a lot of people out there, Carl, they can't stomach it. Yeah. And that's the sad part. They just can't stomach what guys like you did, what guys like I did. They can't do it at all. It's nasty business.
Yeah, that's the bigger problem. I mean, look, I will say the president has the toughest job in the world, especially on a day like today when you're bringing people home like this. I've never sat in that chair. Pete Hegseth sit in the same chair. What they've done for the military is unbelievable. They've done an incredible job rebuilding it. But we're running, there are reports that we are running low on munitions. How? That's what we spend $1 trillion a year, more than the next 24 countries combined, 23 of which are allies, to be good at war. What went wrong?
How many of those munitions went to Ukraine over the last 4 years, Carl? Why are we running low? There's the question. Look who was in the Oval Office when all that equipment and all those munitions went to Ukraine. Now, here we are with dead service members, and now they're telling us that we're low on munitions? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, Teddy, I appreciate you. I appreciate your service. And, Scott, we're going to try to get him back at a later date for this, but I appreciate both of you guys.
Same to you, Carl. Thank you, brother.
All right. Coming up, between Hegseth's pull-up form and RFK's food standards, these libs will find literally anything to complain about in the Maha movement. The latest nutrition recommendations from soy boys who know nothing about protein later in the show. But first, only the Democrats will openly admit to finding thousands of non-citizens on their voter rolls and then still rail against the Save America Act that they're somehow afraid of. I don't know. Founder of Early Vote Action, the guy who delivered some election wins for Trump, Scott Presler, going to join me live next.
You're dangerous.
A very interesting place to be right now. It's been 35 days, as you can see on the counter here behind me, since Nicolas Maduro, the leader of this country, was taken by Delta forces.
Because you're honest.
You don't get political. I don't think actors should. I've kind of
thank you. So break the glass.
And I guess this didn't sit too well with one of the Schmidt heads on Newsmax.
What the FCC is supposed to regulate, ABC breaks that law every single night. That is not a comedy show. That is propaganda.
Watch Rob Schmidt, weeknights.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring. Understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
Why go on Roe? Because 1 in 4 guys experience ED.
Guys, connect with a provider to find treatment that could be right for you, like fast-acting dissolvables or daily gummies. If 1 in 4 guys deal with ED,
Then 1 in 4 guys should go on Roe.
Today's AI capabilities can make your head spin. But for scammers, it's the ultimate tool. They're using AI to exploit tech gaps and slip past traditional security. PCmatic keeps your information private and devices safe with online security solutions developed in America to protect Americans. Built for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Secure 5 devices for just $50 for your first year. Get online protection at PCmatic.com.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
So more election fraud in blue states. You don't say. Last night, we told you about the story of New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill discovering that a serious software error in the state's motor vehicle system led to a roughly 6,600 non-citizens or illegals being registered to vote. And New Jersey's Democrat Senator Andy Kim says, it's not widespread a systemic problem.
Now, we should note that this is out of millions and millions of millions of New Jerseyans. So this is still tiny.
We need to fix it, but we also need to make sure that we're looking at the problems in the right size, that this is not akin to what Donald Trump was talking about. Yes, this is something that needs fixing, but it's not this widespread systemic problem that Trump has been using and weaponizing to try to push forward a very extreme agenda.
First, if it's off even one vote, that negates maybe my vote, which is not cool. But your governor literally just said it's a systemic problem. Your governor blamed it on, quote, the system, which, by the way, the company is now refuting, saying that, it wasn't our system. It was your voter registration process, not a glitch in our system. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance is now calling on Senators Cory Booker and Andy Kim from New Jersey to pass the Save America Act. It's your state, guys. So let me put this in perspective for you real quick. If you issue me, a gun permit in the state of Connecticut, or we'll do New Jersey, I can then go legally purchase a gun, whether I've met the qualifications to get that permit. The state requires a gun permit, and the state gave me a gun permit. So am I at fault for exercising a right that the state concurred with by issuing me that permit? Is that my fault? Some of these people, one guy just went to jail because he didn't know he wasn't supposed to vote. Anyway, founder of Early Vote Action, Scott Presler. Dude, this is insane to me that we're still having the conversation about the SAVE Act.
Well, thank you, Carl, for having me back. The Democrats, they've got to be really tired right now from all the goalpost moving that they've been doing. It started off with them saying illegal aliens can't vote. Right. Then it became illegal aliens aren't getting registered to vote by the DMV. Then it was illegal aliens aren't getting registered at all. And now that we have discovered non-citizens being both registered and voting, we hear from them, oh, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Well, yes, it does, because I have to say this, Carl. There was a member of Congress, Miller Meeks, in 2020 that only narrowly won her seat by 6 votes. Yes, every vote should be legal and lawful.
Scott, the other thing, too, is if people don't know, I just want to back up your resume with what you're talking about. You probably single-handedly handed the state of Pennsylvania to Donald Trump by your efforts of voter registration. So when they say 6,600 people were registered illegally by the DMV, how hard is it to go out and find registered 6,600 people for Donald Trump?
To give you an example, the average of voter registration is 1 voter per hour, meaning in order to do 6,600 by hand in person, that would be roughly 6,600 hours that was done just by a software error from the Department of Motor Vehicles in the state of New Jersey.
I mean, it does put things into perspective. But CNN, Abby, these people are just shameless. She's just hung up on the issue of the word widespread. Watch this.
You just said it's widespread. So where's the proof that it's widespread?
6,600 non-citizens made it onto the voter rolls.
That is 0.006% of registered voters in the state.
What is your tolerance for any fraud at all?
Is it widespread?
Absolutely. Over 6,000 people.
What is your bar for widespread?
She said, my bar is I want no tolerance.
Which is interesting, and I want to show you this because CNN loved using the same phrase during the COVID pandemic. Roll this.
They all say we need more testing of asymptomatic Americans to get a better understanding of just how widespread the virus really is.
It tells us that this virus is much more widespread than we thought.
I mean, this is pretty widespread, Christina. If they are going to be sending people back to work, is there enough widespread testing?
They loved widespread then when, at the time, early reporting was only, 6,000 cases in New Jersey?
Carl, in addition to the member of Congress I mentioned in Iowa, as recent as 2024, John Duarte, I do believe in California, lost his race as a Republican by 187 votes. That was the deciding factor. So to anyone watching, whether you're a veteran, a woman, or a minority, any fraudulent non-citizen or illegal alien voting disenfranchises your voters. And so I'm asking our Senate, because the House has done its job. It's passed the Save America Act 4 times. It just did NDAA. It just did the ban insider stock trading. It's time for the Senate to get off its behind and pass the country-saving Save America Act, which is photo voter ID and proof of citizenship. The American people demand election security. And thank you, Governor Mikey Sherrill, for making the case for us of why this legislation is so gosh darn important.
Literally made the case. And I hear you may be headed to Alaska to, let's just say, help Murkowski out of office if she doesn't vote for it. Scott Presler, you are a force, sir.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, another Democrat, another spending spree scandal. Georgia's youngest ever mayor just got yanked from power over shady spending habits. Why is this such a pattern with these left-wing politicians? We got Unfiltered next.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people. You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
It's me, Ricky. You grew up with me. I am using Fatty 15 to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. I urge you to try Fatty 15.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message, because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax relief helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention, do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax relief helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
What if you could have shades like these for a fraction of big brand prices? With Shady Rays, you can. We're an independent company, so we do things differently. We offer high-quality polarized shades for a reasonable price. And we personally replace shades that get lost or broken. So far, we've racked up over 300,000 five-star reviews. I founded Shady Rays so that we can have sunglasses that stand up to whatever life throws at us. Order now and get 20% off site-wide at shadyrays.com.
All right, while most people celebrate a new job with like a nice dinner, apparently the Salcedo, California city manager had completely other plans. Just weeks after taking over City Hall, Elaine Forbes was arrested after police say they found her inside a 66-foot yacht that didn't belong to her. Investigators said that she tried to stay the night there, helped herself to items on board, and left the boat in complete disarray. Now, the woman hired to run the city is now facing 4 misdemeanor charges. So much for easing into the role, I guess. All right, co-host of American Agenda, Bob Brooks, and host of Ike Wingate America, Ike Wingate. I mean, that's how when I'm in charge of running a city, I make sure that I steal people's wine on their yacht.
This is why I hate government and giving our money to politicians. Look, I've been in this business long enough. I've interviewed thousands of politicians. Yeah. Some of them with dandruff on their shoulder pads, their hair's all disheveled. I'm looking at them like, dude, you're in Congress? Yeah. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah. And they're controlling and telling us what to do, how to spend our money. That's the Democrat Party, more taxes. I hate giving my money to people who are incompetent, and that's what they're doing out there.
It's exactly incompetence. And she's running a city, and she's a real-life Goldilocks and goes on this yacht. Like, well, I mean, who hasn't had a bad morning and went on someone's yacht and stole their booze and ate their stuff? And she tried on this lady's clothes. She tried on this lady's clothes. A weirdo.
I like to think
She's a
the city
weirdo.
manager of my city doesn't do that.
No, I have to say that, I have to be fair, a family spokesman said that she was experiencing a mental health crisis at the time. What the hell is she doing managing a city?
I don't care. Don't care. Don't be a city manager. Yeah. Don't be in charge of how our city's running, in charge of people's lives, how we're going to spend all our money, build our infrastructure. Sorry, you're out. You just can't be that anymore.
Yeah, well, she couldn't even manage, anything. I mean, I wouldn't have her, managing a Taco Bell or a lemonade stand or anything. She is clearly psycho and likes to wear other people's clothes.
Or she can't manage a minibar on someone else's yacht. But this is also great. Democrat, of course. Georgia's youngest ever mayor, Jaden Williams, has been temporarily stripped of his duties as officials investigate his alleged spending, all less than a year after he campaigned on accountability and transparency. Now, the city suspended his issued credit card and blocked the use of any city-owned cars. Really, but it's like, what, guys, really?
At least he didn't go on somebody else's yacht, though. I mean, you know.
That's the bar? That's okay.
I feel like, do I need to do the same rant I just did? Maybe you just regurgitated. It's a 22-year-old. First off, that was your biggest side. Man, maybe this is a bad idea, but again, politicians, we give them our money to make decisions here, and most of them, not all, are idiots here, and now we're seeing it happen again.
But this is like, remember that Dalton mayor, what was it, Tiffany Henyard or whatever? She used taxpayer funds for basically like this. She's getting her nails did and her hair done, and she was doing all that. She was spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars and then wanted to give herself a raise.
What a grift. I mean, I guess it's good if you can get it, but this guy's slogan was make the city urban, hip, and up with the times. So up with the times are massive debt, stealing other people's money, I guess. But my question is, why does this guy have this credit card that's unchecked and a vehicle?
Right.
Like, what a sweet gig for a 22-year-old.
Well, where's the Democrat Party going? Into communism, right? And what happens is they take everybody's money, live high off the hog, and everybody else has to suffer. Rules for thee, not for me. That's what they do.
Speaking of high off the hog, Gavin Newsom, straight face, had this to say when it comes to fire management. Roll this.
I can say this with absolute conviction. We don't imitate. We're a model for others. We have people coming from all over the United States and around the globe to look at what California is doing in orbit, in the air, and on the ground.
You got crack pipe machines, hobos everywhere, unfinished railways to nowhere for $100 billion. You got record people leaving, highest taxes, most natural resources that you're afraid to exploit because of the blue-spotted frog population. You are a model for approximately butt kiss.
I'd say nothing. Also, did 31 people not just die because of a massive fire in Los Angeles? Did what's the number here? I got 13,000 homes were burned. Gone in the Palisades in the Eaton fire. I don't think they know how to manage fires at all.
He says they're a model, but he never says a model for doing things well. They are a model for how to do everything wrong, right behind Canada. So congrats, Gavin.
So you taking the literal set. It's a model.
Yeah.
It's just not a good one.
Terrible things. Yeah.
That's a good point.
This is unbelievable. Oh, well, Bob, Ike, we appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, the geniuses who pandered to the trans community with Dylan Mulvaney are back at it, showing off what appears to be, I don't know, fake patriotisming or something. Culture Clash next.
I switched.
I switched. I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
Newsmax. Newsmax.
Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
Healthy aging support starts here with the innovative nitric oxide science pioneered by Human, supporting your body from the heart out through circulation, blood flow, blood pressure, and energy. Results you can feel, science you can trust. Get started today at human.com.
Where's the admission desk at your hospital? You may need it sooner than you think. It's the middle of the night and you, your spouse, or your child is sick, high fever, can't keep anything down, and getting worse. Now you're waiting in the ER, and everyone gets seen before you. And when I finally see you and order prescriptions, you still have to wait for your pharmacy to open and hope they have what I prescribed. This is the medical emergency kit. It's stocked with essential medications, including amoxicillin, generic Z-Pak, and ivermectin. Now you have the right medications when you need them. And it's why I and so many of my colleagues have medical emergency kits. It's like having an urgent care and pharmacy in your home. Just fill out a brief online medical intake and your kit, prescribed by a licensed provider, is shipped to your door. Here's how to order.
Order your kit now and save $45. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news. That's urgentcarekit.com/news.
At Ancestry, we believe every question about the past is a spark. And when curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. How is your family woven into 250 years of U.S. history? Find out now at Ancestry.
Nobody tells you when you're young that the ceiling you see isn't real. The constraints you feel aren't forever. And this version of you is not final.
Oh, he's back.
Your body doesn't have a limit. It's up to you how far you take it.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. With Ethos, it's so fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
You know, when I came in here, I was at a 15, and that's no joke. My spinal cord was almost severed. I feel like I'm gaining my freedom. My pain level of the day is nothing.
No pain now? No. Okay, feels good? Yep.
And I can feel my legs waking up and getting feeling back in my leg and my foot I haven't had in a year and a half, 2 years. I feel like I'm getting my life back.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
Your mouthwash routine just got a whole lot smarter. Use Smart Mouth Activated Morning Mouthwash with B12 for all-day bad breath prevention, guaranteed. If your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. Kickstart your morning. Get Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash with B12.
All right, folks, just before we get started, James Woolsey, the CIA director in President Clinton's first term, has passed away. As we found out it was yesterday, but we're just finding out now. Woolsey had previously served President H.W. Bush's special negotiator between NATO and the Warsaw Pact on reducing weapons and troops in Europe before the end of the Cold War. Woolsey was 84 years old. All right, folks. The self-imposed hits keep coming for the same people who put Dylan Mulvaney on a beer can, by the way. The Belgians keep running Budweiser. They run the Budweiser parent company of InBev. They were once the king of beers, and they've screwed it all up. Sure, they're celebrating America's 250th birthday with, we're made in America campaign. But celebrating hardworking Americans is like their slogan. But this seems more like pandering than anything else. Could this have anything to do with, I don't know, Trump's tax breaks? Probably not. But it was just last year that InBev rolled out a Made in Canada campaign for Bud and Bud Light and Busch. And that's because Trump is threatening our northern neighbors with tariffs now. Host of Scrolling with Hayley, Caronia, and Newsmax contributor Amy Robbins. Amy, pick a side, guys.
Look, this is peak Bud Light. Alienate your core drinkers with Dylan Mulvaney and then slap an American flag on there and hope everyone forgets about it. I mean, I don't know who is running their marketing campaign, but they just keep on swinging and missing. And of course, what they're doing right now is just classic corporate opportunism, but they can't be shocked when real Americans don't want to buy into this sudden John Wayne act because we remember who you dressed up as in 2023.
Yeah, exactly. Hayley, here's something totally different, but also equally as funny. Police in Bloomfield Township, Michigan are asking the public for help in identifying 8 people who stole 113 Nike items valued at nearly $11,000 from a local Dick's Sporting Goods store. No word on whether or not work boots were stolen. Hayley, we got you?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that they're looking for work boots, Carl. I think that they're looking for tracksuits so they can look like Venezuelan dictators and things like that. This is what they're trying to do, right? And, you know, the Democrats always sell this sob story. You remember AOC was saying, well, these people are looting Gucci because they're trying to put bread on the table. But that's not what it is about. This is about social justice. And in their world, throwing a brick through a storefront and stealing sneakers is justice. And then the Democrat Party sells this lie that they're the answer. You know, these people are disadvantaged and we have all the answers. And of course, that's not the answer at all.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. And I'm surprised Michigan couldn't track them down with all their flock cameras and super surveillance state that Gretchen Whitmer loves. All right. It also looks like Jasmine Crockett is auditioning for Jemele Hill's old job at ESPN. Listen to this analysis of the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina. Roll it.
And it seemed like the vast majority of the world was rooting for Argentina, or actually against Argentina, right? And why was that?
Spain had the best team. Maybe that's why they were rooting for them.
There's also a racist history that exists as it relates to Argentina.
You're recognized.
It's racist to root for Argentina, but that's what they're spending time on the House floor doing, Amy? What?
Carl, Carl, Jasmine Crockett is a part of the Mickey Mouse is racist, manners are racist, calling that big bedroom in your house the master suite is racist, and now apparently voting for your Argentinian soccer team is also racist. But when you carry the hammer of racism, everything is going to look like a nail to you. And as a Texan, I cannot tell you that January 3rd, 2027 cannot come fast enough because we are so sick and tired of hearing this lady talk.
Yeah. 100%. But here's another one out of Michigan, actually. Dearborn Police Chief Hayley, Chief Isa Shaheen or whatever, proudly touts that his police force is made up of 45% Arab Americans. But there's growing concern. I mean, they're like, we're almost there, guys, which gives me growing concern, too, that when it does become 51%, are they going to ignore our laws and enforce Sharia? And if they do that, is it time to remove religious protections for Islam?
Yeah, I don't think that the founding fathers had this in mind when they talked about religious freedom and put that in our Constitution. And unfortunately, this is an invasion that is being ushered in by a weak Supreme Court and people who are afraid of being called racist. This is not racist to call this an invasion. That's exactly what it is. These people have no interest in assimilating. And I don't have a problem if you come here and you're from a different culture or you're a different color or whatever, and you want to be a police officer, that's fine. But this doesn't look anything like an American police force. That's what scares me.
Yeah, no, I got to play this real quick. This is back and forth between a LaGuardia air traffic controller and an incoming Delta flight, warning that there was a man-pad alert yesterday. Roll this.
Man-pad alert issued at LaGuardia Airport at 0027. Use extreme caution.
All right, clear to land, runway 22, Delta 2604. And could you explain what a man-pad is?
Yeah, that's a man portable air defense system. Yeah, it's basically it was a report of a rocket launcher. We've had conflicting reports, but nothing has been an issue as of yet.
Okay, Delta 2604, thanks for the information.
Thanks for telling me about the rocket launcher. Turned out to be false, though, Amy. Real quick to you.
Okay, last thing, I am so glad this story ended up about being about fake rocket launchers and not the new list of required items in the men's restroom at the LaGuardia Airport, because that's where I thought this was going, Carl.
No, we are not in Tampon Tim's, Minnesota, but we appreciate it. Haley, Amy, we appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Folks, listen up. Next Friday, August 1st, I'm going to be doing my show live from the Gun Owners Advocacy and Leadership Summit in Des Moines, Iowa. We will be speaking with some of the leading defenders of the Second Amendment and some of the biggest names in gun manufacturing and advocacy. If you attend, be sure to check out my speech Saturday, too. Join us there next week. All right, coming up, this liberal is the prime example of why male testosterone is basically non-existent on the left. Breaking down every single thing this guy got wrong about protein maxing. Next.
I know how to make slick-looking goggles/glasses, but I have no idea how to make slick-looking social media stuff.
But GoDaddy Aero uses AI to create social content out of thin air, like this one.
Walton Goggins goggle glasses are great gifts for all guys and gals.
The next thing that I heard was you have to have surgery immediately or you have 4 months to live.
Our world changed that day.
Every 15 seconds in America, someone like Jay hears the words, "You have cancer." But your monthly gift helps fund the cancer research that saves people's lives. Donate today, and we'll send you this free t-shirt. Cancer won't wait, and neither can we. Donate today.
Where's my mother gonna... Oh, no. Is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today. This could be it. Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 1-800-306-1979. That's 1-800-306-1979.
Jordan's a new homeowner, and she thought she had a drainage problem.
There's water everywhere.
Turns out it was clogged gutters. It pools near your foundation and can seep into your home. But Leaf Filter keeps your gutters clog-free. Call or click today.
I'm Elmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals.
The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. Now, Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands. Now, don't hesitate any longer. Place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world.
Kibble. It's been the standard for decades, and it's failing our dogs. That's why we created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete. It's gently air-dried, locking in the nutrients, and the flavor dogs go wild for. Visit your local pet food retailer today.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring. Understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
All right, so we've seen the new Maha hype. Be active, eat right, like high protein, maybe less junk food. And some lib, of course libs, the place, this is a place called Wired, I've never heard of it, but apparently it's a thing, decided to try to make RFK's diet recommendations look bad or something. Look at this.
I took RFK Jr.'s advice and ate nothing but high-protein foods for a week, and I found myself barfing in the office bathroom. Earlier this year, the U.S. Health Secretary unveiled a historic reset of dietary guidelines for Americans, and the very first item was prioritizing protein.
Oh, hold up. Let's look at what this guy's interpreting as protein here, okay? Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts and mint ice cream. Let's take a walk over to poptarts.com and look at the nutritional facts on that one, okay? 30 grams of sugar. Yeah, here's 10 grams of protein, but it doesn't offset your daily dose of type 2 diabetes. Also, mint ice cream is never a healthy source of protein.
In order to meet the level of daily protein intake recommended by the U.S. Department of Health, which for me is around 138 grams of protein per day, I switched to a diet consisting solely of foods, drinks, and supplements marketed as high in protein. Ironically, the biggest barf inducer for me was from Ghost's Nutter Butter flavored whey protein powder. My partner Mads uses it as workout fuel, and I saw it as an easy shortcut to get 26 grams of protein.
First off, you ain't getting no gains at 138 grams a day. You need to up those numbers by at least a factor of 3. But hold up for a sec. The irony of Nutter Butter protein and someone saying my partner in the same sentence, I'll leave that one to the internet. But dude, Subway, Nutter Butter protein, bro, this is not what we're talking about. But it went on.
For my breakfasts, I paid $20 plus $7 in shipping fees for a box of something called Man cereal. It packs 16 grams of protein, 2.5 grams of creatine. I could barely chew through it. And it's easily the worst food I ingested for this experiment.
$20 and 7 more for shipping. First, get Amazon Prime, pal, free shipping. Second, $27 for maple bacon flavored Man cereal? How about just buy bacon and then dip it in syrup yourself? It's available at Target for $7.99 or $6.99 a pound with, get this, containing 7 grams of protein per serving, which is a total of 63 grams in that pound that you buy. We all know that also the side effect of bacon is more freedom. Or, and I'm just going to throw this one out there. Have you tried an egg, which is in the same aisle, and for $1.49 a dozen, which has no sugar? It's literally the healthiest food on earth. 6 grams of protein per egg, which is 72 grams per dozen for under $2. And if creatine is what you're looking for, bacon does have a bunch of that, but also so does a steak, which if you head over to US Wellness Meats, which is where I buy my steak from because they are freedom-loving Americans that run that joint, you can get a ribeye for the ripe old price of your box of crappy cereal. But this goes to the larger issue. These people are literally afraid of eating the most basic stuff because someone told them so. I eat like 12 to 40 eggs a day, and this is why I look like me, and that's why that guy looks like Gumby. I know this is going to shock some people, but the Nutter Butter protein guy is probably going to be most shocked by this. But maybe nature got it right, and we should eat what it provides. Better yet, people should learn how to provide it for themselves, have a farm and stuff like this. This is the rule I live by. If the expiration date on a product is more than 2 months after the day you buy it, what chemical did they use to preserve it? And what does that chemical do to your body? That is why this guy felt like throwing up. Pop-Tarts are literally almost non-edible. They're never meant to be eaten. They'd be better used as insulation. This is why we're fat, and over half the kids graduating from college aren't even eligible to join the military. Stop eating Fruit Loops and start eating steaks. Anyway, before we go, think they have an obvious choice for Democrats for 2028? I'm not so sure they have a clue what their base thinks or what anybody else does. The Common Sense Cowboy is going to weigh in a sec on that.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Today, kids are navigating an always-on world, consuming more information than ever before. Strengthening youth mental health starts with ensuring kids have strong digital and media literacy skills. Teaching students how to think critically about the content they see online helps them navigate digital spaces thoughtfully and intentionally. We need to teach media literacy in every school. Youth mental health is complex, but media literacy empowers educators and parents to keep kids safe.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
This is the story of the one who knows that being ready for the unexpected comes from having a partner like Grainger, whose professional-grade products and next-day delivery help ensure that he and his team are prepared to rise to every challenge, so he can be confident that he has what he needs when he needs it to help keep patients safe and happy. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When Saturday rolls around, I don't want to jump through hoops to watch college football. Good thing DirecTV makes it easy to keep up with my favorite college teams. No hopping between apps or channels.
Stream college football without the hurdles on DirecTV.
My parents have both passed. My dad was a veteran. He loved the military. So I wanted to give his car to the military so that veterans could get some money. My first thought was Tunnel to Towers. They set you up with a time, a date. They pick it up. All you need is your title and keys. They sell it. They get back to you with the receipt. You use it for your taxes at the end of the year, and you're good.
Join us in supporting our nation's heroes. Go to T2T.org to make a positive impact.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
There's no way a mouthwash can prevent bad breath for 12 hours.
You're right, Val. Mouthwash can't, but this is dentist-developed Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash.
Activated?
Yeah, if your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. See, this plus this activate for 12 hours of bad breath prevention, guaranteed. Try it. You won't have bad breath in the morning. Good night, Val.
Get dentist-developed Smart Mouth today. It's the smarter mouthwash, available at these fine retailers.
Here we go again. The anointment of Kamala Harris as the next Democrat presidential candidate is already underway because they can control her, actually. The New Yorker magazine, writing a recent article, like it or not, Kamala Harris is the front runner. Based on what? The article quoting several Democrat operatives that, by the way, got it wrong last time, including Minion Moore, there's a Democrat named Minion, who ran the 2024 Democrat National Convention, who said, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that right now, that we need leaders that can take us in a different direction and bring us back together as a party. There ain't nobody in your party who's a rocket scientist, lady. And if they were, they'd be working for Elon, the guy you hate. So the woman who got trounced 2 years ago is the obvious choice. Common sense cowboy, Patrick Dorinson. Dude, this to me is rich.
Well, I don't know how she's going to make that nomination, but let me tell you something, Carl. Before she does anything, she should go to that Henry Higgins guy from My Fair Lady and take some lessons on how to speak English. But let's also look at some of the other candidates they got on the Democratic side, because it's going to be great. There's going to be more horses in that than in the Kentucky Derby. You got Jay Pritzker, who's been mainlining Ozempic for the last couple of months.
Hasn't worked.
Yeah, well, you know, you can't mainline Ozempic and then have 2 cheeseburgers in your hand. And then you got Pete Buttigieg, who's desperately trying to grow a beard. That thing, I tell you what, it looks like a bunch of caterpillars crawling on his chin. Gavin Newsom's got a bucket full of that grease he puts in his hair, and he's got legal troubles. Josh Shapiro doesn't know what day it is. This is going to be the most fun we've had since... Well, the last time they put a bunch of people up and we got a vegetable.
Yeah, well, Rob, I want to bring my buddy Rob. We were talking about this. Josh Shapiro was the guy who was signing bombs to go to Ukraine, and now we don't have enough bombs.
Yeah, well, you know.
Who knows who they're going to choose in this thing, but the fact that they're excited, in fact that there's any excitement about Kamala Harris, who just totally dropped it as hard as you can.
Well, you know, on some things and maybe on Tuesdays, and if I can talk to you as a woman and maybe sometimes as whatever else I'm supposed to be, I really can get your vote.
The passage of time.
The passage
yes,
of time.
with the great passage of time, which is what we all wear watches for.
Yeah. Because pancakes go well on rooftops and ducks on Sundays. But this is the thing. They are the people lecturing us about how they're the intelligent ones.
Well, you know something, Carl. Anybody who decides that a system that's failed is ripe for America shows you all you got to know about how smart these people are. And we also have to understand something. I don't care who any of these people are, because the Democratic Socialists who are taking over this party, led by that old baby boomer Pied Piper Bernie Sanders, all these young kids who, you know, they turned all these kids into Frankensteins, and now the kids are running through the village, killing all the villagers.
Oh, man, that's good stuff.
Patrick, always a pleasure. Where do people get your book, man?
You can get it on Amazon. Common Sense Cowboy's Guide to Life. Stories from the old guy at the end of the bar, and I better go have a drink because it's getting towards cocktail time.
Yeah, exactly. We'll tell Kamala you're there. Appreciate it, brother.
Yep.
Rob, this is their lineup.
It is. And then you have Gavin looks terrible in that New Hampshire poll.
Yeah.
Looks terrible in that New Hampshire poll. I mean, he's down at like 8%. He's like in 4th place. Gavin Newsom is making more noise than any politician right now, trying to get somewhere, and I think people have realized that he's just a very unlikable guy, even if you agree with him politically.
I want AOC at the top of that ticket.
God, my
God. You imagine the content every day. We don't even have to really work hard.
Too scary, though. What if she wins? What if she wins? Oh,
man,
God.
That's bad. All right, man.
Carl, good to see you.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.